Great to be recording with you again. Natasha Donn from the Portugal Resident. This is the news review with you. Our third outing. The reviews are good so far, Natasha. Amazing, Natasha. How refreshing. I love it. Cannot wait for more next week. From Sophie. Another great interview. Really good stories and discussion following them. Looking forwards to more. Great interview. I really would love to know where the gold went. Such suspicious happenings. We probably won't be returning to that, but please, more of your comments in the chat on YouTube. We're loving seeing that. Natasha, how are you this week on episode 3?
I'm good. I'm still here.
That's the main thing. And for those of you who are keeping a keen eye on Natasha's production quality, we can hear you.
It's not got better this week.
We're working on it, aren't we?
Yes, there were. Well, I've been given something that will be better, but when I opened it, I couldn't understand what I was meant to do with it. So now I have to take it to somebody who's very, very much cleverer than me with all this sort of equipment. Okay. He'll work it all out, and then hopefully next week.
Please tune in next week to find out
what's going
on with Natasha's production quality. But the main thing is we can hear you. And the first thing we're going to hear about how this works is Natasha unpacks, deep dives. I don't know if you find that a little bit of a cliche. People do use that phrase perhaps too much, the deep dive. But this is your chance to take a deeper look at some of the news you've been reporting on. 3 stories a week. We're kicking off with the unstoppable president. I think you've got quite a lot of love and respect for this man, Natasha.
I do. And I feel so sad that there's so many people that keep saying, oh, he's been useless. The next president we have must be not like Marcel, mustn't take selfies, mustn't do this, mustn't do that. Because that people are forgetting how, when he came along 10 years ago, the country was really in a depressed state. And he managed to lift up everybody's psyche and make people happy. And he was always happy himself. And he was whizzing. I mean, the first year, I think his first year, he went around the world 4 times in terms of journeys that he did. He even saw the Queen in the first year. But he was just so positive and promoting Portugal with a smile and with a really kind energy. And I think that is what Portugal should be promoting.
And you might expect this from the grandfather of the nation, which is how he's definitely an uncle or a father or a grandfather. He's got a father figure for the nation.
Yes, he's a naughty old uncle. But the thing is you see what we've got coming up in the next presidential elections. This is what's sort of quite sad, really, is what we've got coming up appears to be the favourites in the latest poll. Admittedly, it's only a poll. Hopefully, like a lot of polls, it's not correct, because it puts the 2 people who are going to they think poll the most are the 2 candidates that are not anything like him at all, but they're completely anti-system. One might be perfectly good because he's a military man and he's well trained and he's not given to excesses, but the other one's been putting up posters saying, immigrants must obey that. No, what is it? Immigrants. This is not Bangladesh.
They can't live on benefits.
Mustn't pay mustn't get subsidies, and gypsies must comply with the law. And you think, well, that's not the sort of messages we want from a president.
Fair enough within the political chamber that all views are expressed and discussed. But yes, it's not a presidential tone, is it, at all?
No. So
that's not to say, Natasha, he can't put his foot down when he needs to, which he did. He seemed to do that on behalf of Portugal. Do you remember when he notably shook Donald Trump's hand as well? Do you remember when Marcelo did that?
He shook Donald Trump's hand.
Did you not see that meeting in the video of him of those 2 having an alpha male encounter?
No. What happened?
I will send it to you. He arrived in the United States to be greeted by Donald Trump, presumably in the first presidency. Yes. And Marcelo stepped straight into his space, his personal space, grabbed him by the hand and gave him the handshake Donald Trump was not expecting. And on his own doorstep, literally on his own doorstep.
How funny, because Donald Trump's whole style is he shakes somebody's hand and then pulls them towards him.
He is trying to put them in their place, but we had. I'm trying to find it there, and I've just
Don't worry.
Temporarily lapsed.
No, he's a very clever man, because he said something a little while ago when Trump was that the American peace plan for Ukraine was first leaked, and And at the same time, the Americans started threatening Venezuela. And he gave a really clever little speech somewhere where he was basically saying, listen, you know what's going on here is basically there's three superpowers and they're all talking to each other and they're saying, listen, if I do this, we'll give you this. And if you do that, I'll ignore this. And it was just very interesting. And I think we don't realize how lucky we've been with this man.
Is that not the unfortunate way of politics, perhaps? Is that you're not necessarily remembered for the good things you do. It's a sort of Cinderella position, isn't it? And you're known for what you don't deliver, and you have people's failings and shortcomings projected onto you, perhaps.
Possibly, but I mean, in his case, there have been some iffy bits. Obviously, there's some iffy bits in as much as he was a great, great friend of Ricardo Salgado, who is the disgraced banker from BES. I mean, the case is still going and nothing's been proved, but he's been completely lambasted through the media for the last 10 years. So, and obviously Marcel has had to step back from that friendship, or apparently step back. And then he also had that terrible situation with the spending of what they say was 4 million euros of health service money. It probably wasn't as much as that, but it was a lot of money. All because his son asked him for a favor for some children from Brazil.
This was what was known as the twins, wasn't it?
The twins controversy.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
And yeah,
in a double tenure, I don't know if I'm putting it in the right way there, but he's had 2 terms, hasn't he? He was so as your memory of him will be then that he brought something special to the role. He remained positive, grandfatherly, wise on occasion, occasionally wrong, rescued damsels in distress from boats in Cascais Harbour. He was always there, wasn't he? Selfies, hugs. You'll remember him fondly.
But I think what he's got, that actually what's coming up doesn't appear to have, and certainly not the two favourites, is this kind of infectious charm.
Yes.
So if you've got this lovely charm that makes people feel at ease and also kind of sort of just makes people feel very happy and want to know him, the other people don't have that.
It's that's what I was going to ask you. We're not seeing this, are we? I can't imagine Andre Ventura leading like that. That's going to be too much of a pivot for him as a personality. And the military man, perhaps a little colder in his demeanour with people.
Exactly. He's very sort of correct. And he has this thing. I don't know if you've noticed it, but I mean, I can't see anything else anymore when he comes on. He's got these eyebrows that are like 2 thatched roofs. And then whenever he talks, they go up and down, up and down, up and down, like eyebrows on, doing weightlifting. Right. And I can't listen to anything he says. I just watch his eyebrows.
Right. Okay. Now everybody else will not be able to see anything other than his eyebrows, thanks to Natasha Donn of The Resident. And it does look like it's focusing down on those two, does it not?
It does, but I'm hoping that poll was wrong. One of the people who's not in the running, according to everybody, but he's actually a very intelligent and he would be a good president, I'm sure, is a man called João Coutrinho de Figueiredo, who was one of the kind of leading lights behind Iniciativa Liberal, and he's now a Euro MP, but he says he reckons the whole poll was rigged anyway. The thing is that most polls are rigged.
Well, yes, they lean, don't they? If they're not rigged, they sort of lean towards certain outcomes, perhaps. Do they not?
Yeah, and I mean, the more you work in this country, the more you see that the media itself is kind of trying to manipulate everything.
Oh, okay. Very interesting. Very interesting. So we're looking for a measured, charismatic character, almost monarchic, because those are the qualities I think that we were discussing there that were coming out or associated with Marcelo. He's regal, isn't he, at the best of times, and able to project Portugal in a good way, in a way that a
He's
royal
able
might.
to project Portugal in a good way. I wouldn't necessarily say he was regal, because look at him. We've got lovely photos of him in his bathing trunks queuing in a supermarket. He's such a nice man. He's just completely natural.
I think he had just a few items of clothing on in the pictures you mentioned: his flip flops, his budgie smugglers, and a mask in the in the supermarket, if I remember
That
rightly.
was so sweet.
Wasn't it
So
just?
sweet.
Okay, we
But
will
anyway, so
obviously
I just
return.
think I think that we don't realize how lucky we have been, and we
Right.
may realize it sometime quite soon.
Well, I would say that's the way of politics, isn't it? You don't know,
Yeah,
what you've got till it's gone.
till
Especially if
it's gone.
somebody worse comes into the role,
Yeah.
um, and then it'll be like, oh, we miss Marcelo after all those
Yeah,
nasty
and
things he
where's
said
all the
about him.
fun? Because he did make
Exactly.
things fun.
Yes. Okay. Onward then. This morning, we
Ah,
record on a Friday morning. If there's anything
yeah.
you'd like us to have a look at, do let us know. Natasha's email is always ever present in her writing and with the sleeve notes of the podcast. We're looking at a general strike. I've not seen one of these in my time here in Portugal. What about you, Natasha?
I'm sure I have. I mean, obviously, because I've been here for so long. But
Right.
I kind of, because I'm always working. Even with the newspaper, we're always working, whether it's a day off or not.
Yes,
So,
indeed.
and my children are no longer in school, so I wouldn't have been affected. Well, 13 years ago, I would have been affected, but I don't remember. I mean, the public schools here are off so often. But a general strike is neither here nor there, really. But the thing
Wow.
is, for
Okay.
the country, it's terrible
Yes.
because
Yeah.
it's going to be everybody. It's even going to be the flight unions, the aircraft unions, the
Hmm.
pilots, the crew. Then you're going to have the doctors, the nurses. You're going to have even the police are having a vigil outside the Prime Minister's residence on
So
the day of the strike. They're angry because they say that the government made an agreement with them for all kinds of increases in July, which they did last year, and they haven't delivered on it, which is unpardonable.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. It's not like these issues haven't come from nowhere suddenly. These are
No.
things that are bubbling up and have been for a long time, for years, and they're coming to a head, and people want some resolution, presumably.
Well, I think also this government has got an enormous amount of blame on its shoulders for what's happening because it's just too arrogant. It keeps saying, this is completely unnecessary. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fact is that the Minister of Labour is also, I just feel, what a strange choice for the Minister of Labour. She's worth herself 5 million euros.
Right.
So how can she be the Minister of Labour and Social Security? She's never had to worry about Social
Not
Security.
very relatable, I think, is the point you make.
No, not at
Yeah.
all. And so a lot of people, I think, are very upset. And then, of course, she made a bit of a Horlicks at the beginning of this Labour reform by
A bit of a
trying
what?
a bit of a Horlicks.
Okay, all right.
Isn't that
A
what
mess.
it's called?
Yes, okay. It dropped a clanger. Yes.
Yeah. She made a bit of a clanger then.
boo-boo,
She
a
dropped a
boo-boo,
clanger, made a Horlicks, but she
yes.
made a mess of the breastfeeding changes. She said something about, I mean, obviously, if you're really wanting to work, do you really want to breastfeed your child beyond 2 years? It's not even that healthy, I've been told, to breastfeed too long because there's too much sugar in breast milk. So, sometime between 1 year and 2 years is enough. But anyway, she said that they were going to cut that, put the cutoff limit at 2 years. Workers are able to take an hour off their working day for breastfeeding.
Yes.
And of course, everybody was furious. And then she said, as if they were all breastfeeding these enormous children. And then she said something silly like, well, surely at 2 years old, children are doing something else. They must be eating soup. And you just thought, well, that's
Like she didn't
weird.
really
I mean,
know
of
what
course,
was
they're going to
going
be
on.
doing more than
Yeah.
soup at 2 years old.
And this is the problem, is it not? The remoteness, the smugness. I think that's nailed here, isn't it?
I
In
think
the
it's
point
the
you're making.
arrogance and the fact that they keep announcing things without negotiating them first.
Is it fair to say the politicians are too busy arguing with each other and trying to make deals rather than making themselves understandable, relatable, and communicating with the people who have an understandable grievance, who are taking part in the general strike?
I think what the problem is because they're a minority government, they're all trying to do things that's going to keep them in power or make them look better, in some way. And so they're losing track of the fact that they're actually here to serve the people. They're just trying to stay in power.
There's a thing. the government. How might that happen? How do you see this unfolding then? Do you think the general strike will have the effect that they're hoping for, or will this just be an interminable struggle until there's a change of government?
I mean, obviously, you can't predict the future, but this is the thing that one of the people who is trying to be president, who is very careful, very thoughtful, he's not apparently in the running. He's not likely to win according to the latest poll, but he is probably the best equipped. Who's the guy I told you about, who's very, very small.
Yes. What's
but
his
I
name?
shouldn't have said he's too small, because actually, if you think about it, Macron is tiny. Sarkozy was tiny.
Yes.
And then I realized that even though he looks like a balloon, Viktor Orban is tiny.
Okay, on the
Yeah,
scale
he's
of
huge.
political leaders, we might have our
Yes,
own.
and then I thought, actually, it's not fair to say he's too small to be a president.
And his name is?
He's called Luis Marc Schmensch.
Okay.
And he said about 3 weeks ago, if not a little bit more, he said, look, this is very dangerous. This is he called it a very delicate moment, because, of course, he wouldn't say dangerous because he's very careful.
Yeah.
But this is a very delicate moment, because the government it's fine to be an authoritative government, but you can't be an authoritarian government.
Well said. Yes, indeed.
And, well, of course, he said everything that he should have said. But he said, the government's got to take a back step and start looking like they are trying to accommodate, instead of saying there is no need for this.
Yes. Yes. Okay. And this connects very well then with the third topic you want to take a look at.
The third topic, which really, for me, is a tragedy, and obviously, funnily enough, even Marcel said how sad he was, is that we are never making any inroads at all on the poverty in this country. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter how many different governments and different policies, and it doesn't matter how much EU money. That's the trouble. I mean, we were deluged with EU money, weren't we? In the last 2 years, deluged.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, and Portugal has done very well from EU subsidy, it would appear.
Yeah, but it hasn't pulled anyone out of poverty.
Right. So with your view, your perspective on this, having lived here for some time, you would find yourself in agreement with not only the president, who's perhaps leaving disappointed that this hasn't changed, but also the people behind and at the front line of the general strike. This is exactly. the nub here, isn't it? Is
exactly.
From our point of view, the foreigners are like experiencing Portugal as a great place to live, and yet for the native people, it isn't improving.
It's got worse and worse, because they can't even afford a roof over their heads anymore. I mean, I know anecdotal stories from here of people that have been on rents of like 200 a month, and suddenly their rent's gone up to 600, and they've been told, if you don't like it, I can get, a foreigner in tomorrow.
Which is not good for anybody, is it?
A home that they've been living in with their family for like 20 years.
Yes.
It's terrible. It's absolutely.
And this is prompted, is it not? And we should actually wish the president well. We didn't mention this, did we? Because he's been in hospital this week, and he's had
he's going to be in the breast
gut. Huh? Yes, he literally bust his gut with a hernia operation, didn't he?
I know.
And so we wish him well.
Yeah. I'm sure he is fine.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Fighting fit again soon, ready to hand over the title. But there was a food bank collection, wasn't there, where the response wasn't as good as it has been in the past. Is that another sign of the nation's fatigue, possibly?
No, well, you see, this is another thing. The food bank did their drive last weekend. They got slightly less than the year before, only 2.6% less. It was still, 2,000 and something tons of food. And they said how marvelous it all was and blah, blah, blah. They didn't say, we're upset, we've got a little bit less. They didn't say anything like that. But now they're doing a food drive this weekend as well. And I think enough's enough.
Yes, well said. As in, if a food bank becomes a way of feeding the nation, you're already in trouble. And it's the problem.
Well, it's not just that. It's just that other people want to go to the supermarket. They don't want to be constantly getting empty plastic bags thrust into their trolleys and saying, can you please do something for the poor, unfed? Because these people are all trying to feed their own families.
Well, it normalizes rather than makes it presents it as an extraordinary situation which needs some sort of gesture of help and charity from people, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And on that note, for people new to the country who do turn up at a supermarket and are given one of these empty paper bags that you speak of, that is not for carrying your own groceries out of the store, as I've heard some foreigners do. Thank you. Oh,
Oh,
they're giving
how
out free
sweet.
reusable bags. That's no. The idea is you put some non-perishable items in there that the
Exactly.
food bank collectors, often with the scouts, will be collecting and distributing to people who need that food.
Exactly.
Natasha, the big issue here, and the one being illustrated by the president and his disappointment, is the standing level of poverty in Portugal. What's to be done about that? I know I'm putting you on the spot, and it's a big question, but you must have a view on this.
Must I? Um,
I'm guessing you
you
do. I'm
must
guessing
have a
you
view
do.
on this.
All right, I don't.
Um,
Sorry, I don't mean it as an order. I mean, I'm sure
no,
you
I
do. I'm
mean, the
sure
thing
you've thought about
is
this.
that is I think it all boils down to the fact that we've been deluged with EU money, and all they've done, and this is what's so unpardonable, is they keep giving it for economic growth, but
Yeah,
it's not. That's not. We should be doing some things for social reasons as well.
I get it. I
We
get it.
should be doing things that I don't know. So many things, even in the area where I live, and the new council have said they want to bring them back. But in the old days, there were like football clubs and ping pong clubs, and the equivalent of Girl Scouts or whatever, Boy Scouts, and they've
Yes.
all gone by the wayside because nobody has any money to keep it going.
Yep. Yep.
And
So
all
the
these things
infrastructure.
add to the experience of families who may not have much money, but it gives something better to their lives, and their children have
Yes,
got things to do, and they might get fed while they're doing them and things like that. We don't have enough focus on that.
I hear
And we
you.
should
I
have
hear you.
had that from the EU, but instead it's all gone into these mega projects or this idiotic. I never understand this fixation on economic growth, because we only seem to grow 0 point something a year. So what's the point?
It is
Why
one of the
why not
mantras
just
we hear very
stay where
regularly.
we are and look after people a little bit better?
Consolidate, perhaps, rather than in perpetual development. To be fair to the EU, which I have to say I'm not very often, but
Yeah,
the EU might say, well, our subsidies are for infrastructure. They are for the big projects. The governments, the politicians of the country, the domestic politicians should be sorting this sort of thing out. Do you think that's fair?
it could well be fair, because I mean, let's face it, we I mean, I haven't got a very good view of the EU either, but I'm just saying the money is good. I'm not
Yes.
saying the EU is good. But I think that our governments are pretty awful. And the
Yes.
people, the more the years go by, the worse the caliber of people.
Yes. Yes. Well, this
Yeah,
is
they seem
interesting,
to be.
the
I mean,
president's saying the same thing.
and possibly with
The
the president
president
too.
seems to be saying the same thing, but from a slightly different angle. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
his the negative side of his legacy is that needle hasn't moved, if you like, on poverty in the
I
country. Well,
know.
for us, for example, and I say us as the foreigners moving to Portugal and enjoying all that it has to offer.
Oh, yeah, but for the foreigners moving to Portugal, they're not really aware of any of this, because this is all going on in the background, isn't it? The only reason I'm aware of it is because I'm writing for a newspaper, so I'm looking at the stories, and you can't help but be aware of what's going on.
And when people do become aware, though, we many of us do feel it as a pain, don't we? We don't want to be enjoying a great life in Portugal, which seemingly is at the expense of the native population.
I know, and I don't know what the answer is there, because of course that's what's happening.
Yes, yes, indeed. Okay, well, a theme I'm sure that we will take into the new year with us as we conclude on 2025. That year's gone quite quickly, hasn't it, Natasha? Have you experienced it like that?
I think all the years go so quickly. I mean, you're right. Every Christmas I say, oh my God, Christmas has come much too soon.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not ready for it.
No.
We're
Okay.
lucky.
Fair enough.
Christmas for me is not a huge deal, because one of my kids is always with his mother-in-law,
Right.
and my son my other son is always with me, and my daughter is always doing something else, and she's going to Mexico this year to see her sister, which is from another mother. And so we're always all over the place at Christmas.
Okay, so you'll be glad to get into 2026 by the look of it. We will speak again, I think, before that next great year comes our way, and presumably we'll experience it even faster. There's a quick look at the front page at the moment. Much of this Natasha's work over there. Quite a mixed bag at the moment. All sorts of amazing things, including what Portugal Googled most in 2025. So pop over there and take a look at that. And we look forward to speaking to you again next Friday. And my special guest for the big interview, which will be published next Tuesday, is Fred Phillips, the man who came up with the phrase "the golden triangle." Natasha, did you know that?
Oh my goodness, how fantastic!
The man himself, the man himself. So I shall wish you a bon fils, man. And we do love to hear from people. We love to see the comments on the YouTube channel. So if you're listening to this and you're moved to say something, please share it with us, and we may give you a mention live here.
Great week.
Thanks, Natasha. Bon fils, man. And we ciao, ciao.
Bye. Bye. Bye.